Mom's 58th birthday lunch was held at the Garden Room, an upscale restaurant with white tablecloths and a menu where nothing cost less than $40. My brother Derek had made the reservation naturally. Derek always handled these things, planning family events, making the big gestures, ensuring everyone knew he was the successful one. I arrived 10 minutes early wearing my usual outfit, jeans, a simple blouse, minimal jewelry. Mom's eyes swept over me with that familiar expression, loving but disappointed, like she was cataloging all my failures in one glance. "Natalie, you made it." He hugged me. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Of course I came. It's your birthday." "Yes, but you're always so busy with your work." She said work, the way other people might say hobby, or that phase you're going through. I made time. "That's sweet." She turned to greet other arriving guests already moving on. The private dining room filled quickly. My parents, my brother Derek and his wife Amanda, my younger sister Monica, aunts, uncles, cousins. Derek dominated the space immediately, shaking hands, telling stories, making sure everyone noticed his expensive suit and new Rolex. "Did you see Derek's watch?" my aunt whispered to me. "That's a $30,000 Rolex. He must be doing so well." "Looks nice," I said neutrally. "How are things with you, dear?" "Still doing that freelance thing." "I'm doing consulting work, yes." "Oh, that's right. Consulting." She patted my hand sympathetically. "Well, it's good to stay busy, even if it's not quite as stable as a real career." I'd heard variations of this conversation for 8 years. Ever since I'd left my corporate job to start my own investment firm, my family had treated it like an extended unemployment period I was too proud to admit to. Lunch was ordered. Champagne was poured. Between the appetizer and main course, Derek stood up, tapping his glass. "I want to say a few words about Mom," he began, and everyone turned to listen. Derek commanded a room, always had. "Mom, you've been an inspiration to all of us. You taught us the value of hard work, perseverance, and success." Everyone murmured agreement. "And speaking of success," Derek continued, his smile widening, "I have some news to share. As of last Friday, I officially made partner at Henderson and Associates." The table erupted in congratulations. Mom stood up and hugged him, tears in her eyes. Dad shook his hand firmly, pride radiating from every pore. "Partner at 35, my uncle called out. "That's incredible, Derek." "One of the youngest in the firm's history," Derek agreed, trying to sound modest but clearly thrilled. "It's been a lot of work, a lot of long hours, but it's paid off." "What's the salary for a partner?" someone asked. "Well," Derek demurred, "I don't like to discuss specific numbers, but let's just say it's well into 6 figures. Plus bonuses, profit sharing, the works." "More congratulations." More champagne. Derek's wife Amanda beamed beside him, her designer dress and jewelry sparkling in the restaurant lights. "This calls for a toast." Dad raised his glass. "To Derek, the son who's made us all so proud." Everyone drank. I took a small sip and said nothing. "You know what's funny?" Derek said, and I felt my stomach tighten because I knew that tone. "I was just thinking about how different my sisters and I turned out. Here it comes. Monica went into teaching. Noble work, important work, even if it doesn't pay much." He smiled at our younger sister. "And Natalie, well, Natalie's still figuring things out." Polite, uncomfortable laughter around the table. "What do you mean?" my cousin asked. "Oh, you know, Natalie left a perfectly good job at Morgan Stanley 8 years ago to start her own business." He used air quotes. "She's been doing freelance consulting ever since. Living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car. No benefits, no stability, no retirement plan." "Derek," Mom said weakly, "maybe we shouldn't." "I'm just being honest, Mom. I love my sister, but someone needs to say it. She's 33 years old and still living paycheck to paycheck while I just made partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the state." The table had gone quiet. Everyone was looking at me. "She's always been the stubborn one," Derek continued. "Remember when Dad offered to get her a job at his company? She turned it down. Said she wanted to do things her own way. And look where that got her." "Derek, that's enough," Dad said, but without much force. "I'm not trying to be mean. I'm worried about her. Nat, seriously, it's not too late. You're smart. You went to a good school. You could get back into corporate life. Amanda's firm is hiring. I could put in a word." Get you a real job with a real salary. I have a job, I said quietly. Consulting isn't a job, it's a stopgap. Come on, Nat. You're not getting any younger. What's your plan here? Keep scraping by forever? What about retirement? What about savings? What about? My phone rang. Normally I would have silenced it immediately, but I was so desperate to escape Derek's lecture that I pulled it out without thinking. The screen showed, James Thornton Goldstein, Private Wealth. My financial advisor. Calling during Mom's birthday lunch. I should have declined. I should have put it away. But 8 years of being talked down to by my family had apparently destroyed my common sense because I answered it. On speaker. This is Natalie. Ms. Williams. James's voice filled the dining room, professional and cheerful. I apologize for calling on a weekend, but I wanted to confirm, your Q4 dividends just cleared. $47,200,000. Shall we reinvest according to your standing instructions, or would you like to review allocation strategies first? The silence at the table was absolute. I stared at my phone in horror, realizing what I'd just done. James, can I call you back? Of course. But Ms. Williams, one quick thing. The board meeting for Cascade Technologies is Tuesday. As majority shareholder, your presence would be appreciated. And your accountant called about the year-end tax planning. With your current portfolio valuation at $3.9 billion, there are some strategic moves we should discuss before December 31st. I'll call you back, I said firmly and hung up. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. 14 people sat frozen, staring at me with identical expressions of shock. Derek's mouth was literally hanging open. Did he say? My aunt started, then stopped. $47 million? Monica whispered. Billion, my cousin corrected. He said $3.9 billion. Portfolio valuation, someone else added faintly. I set my phone down on the table very carefully. My hands were shaking. Mom found her voice first. Natalie? What was that? That was my financial advisor. Your financial advisor? Yes. From Goldstein Private Wealth, Dad added, his voice strange. That's the most exclusive wealth management firm in the country. They only take clients with a net worth over $50 million. I know, I said. Is it real? Derek asked hoarsely. That call, was it real? Yes. You have $47 million in dividends? For Q4, yes. It varies by quarter depending on market performance. And a portfolio worth $3.9 billion? That's the current valuation. It fluctuates. Amanda's hand had moved to her throat. You're a billionaire? Yes. The word hung in the air like a grenade. How? Derek's voice cracked on the word. How is that possible? I told you. I've been running an investment firm for 8 years. A real investment firm, he said slowly. Not freelance consulting. Freelance consulting was easier to explain. People make assumptions when you say, investment firm. They ask questions, want details, expect you to brag. It was simpler to let you think I was struggling. Simpler. Derek's face was turning red. You let us think you were barely getting by. You let us pity you. I never asked for pity. You let us mock you. He looked around wildly. I just told everyone you were living paycheck to paycheck. I know. I was there. Jesus Christ, Natalie. He sat down heavily. Why didn't you tell us? When should I have told you? When you were offering to get me a job at Amanda's firm. When you were explaining how consulting isn't a real career. When you were comparing your 6-figure salary to my tiny apartment and old car? You could have corrected me. Why? Would you have believed me if I had? I looked around the table. If I'd stood up during your partner announcement and said, actually, I'm worth $3.9 billion, what would you have done? Nobody answered. You would have thought I was lying. Or exaggerating. Or delusional. You'd already decided I was the family failure. Nothing I said would have changed that. That's not true, Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? Mom, when's the last time you asked about my business? Really asked, wanting to know details. She looked away. Dad? When I left Morgan Stanley, what did you say? Dad's voice was barely audible. I said you were making a mistake. You said I was throwing away my future. You said I'd regret it. You said I should reconsider before I ruined my career. I turned to Derek. And you told me I was being naive. That I didn't understand how the real world worked. That I'd be back in corporate life within a year, begging for someone to hire me. I was trying to protect you, Derek said. You were trying to feel superior. All of you were. It made you feel better about your own choices to believe I'd made terrible ones. We were concerned. Mom's voice rose. We're your family. We wanted what was best for you. No, you wanted me to conform. To fit the mold. To get a traditional job with a traditional career path so you could tell people about it at parties. But I didn't want that. I wanted to build something of my own. And you did, Monica said softly. She was the only one who looked more impressed than shocked. You built a $3.9 billion investment firm. I did. While letting us all think you were struggling. Yes. Why? Dad asked. Why not tell us? Why not share your success? Because of this. I gestured around the table. This reaction. The moment people know you have money, everything changes. They treat you differently. They want things. They make assumptions. I didn't want that with my family. So instead you let us treat you like a failure? Derek's voice was bitter. I let you reveal who you were. And you did. Repeatedly. For 8 years. That's not fair, Amanda said. We didn't know. You didn't ask. There's a difference. I looked at Derek. You just spent 10 minutes telling everyone I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Did you ever actually ask me about my finances? About my business? About anything beyond your own assumptions? He didn't answer. You know what's funny? I continued. That Rolex you're so proud of? The one that cost $30,000? I bought 6 of them last month. As gifts for my executive team. I didn't even blink at the expense because $180,000 is what I make in investment returns every 4 hours. Derek's face went from red to white. And your partnership, I continued, unable to stop now, with your 6-figure salary and your profit sharing? Congratulations. Genuinely. But I made more in Q4 dividends than you'll make in your entire career. Probably several careers. Natalie, Mom said, tears in her eyes, you're being cruel. Am I? Or am I finally being honest about something you all refuse to see? I stood up. I've sat through 8 years of family dinners where you all pitied me, worried about me, offered to help me, made jokes about my car and my apartment and my freelance consulting. And I let you because I thought maybe family was more important than being right. It is. Mom insisted. Is it? Because Derek just publicly humiliated me at your birthday lunch. He told everyone I was a failure while celebrating his own success. That's not family. That's cruelty dressed up as concern. I didn't know, Derek said quietly. You didn't care enough to find out. I picked up my purse. I'm going to go. I'm sure you all have a lot to talk about. Wait. Dad stood up. Natalie, please. Don't leave like this. Like what? Honest? Finally telling you the truth you never bothered to ask about. We deserve better than this, Derek said, finding his voice again. We're your family. You owed us the truth. I owed you nothing beyond what you gave me, which was judgment, pity, and constant reminders that I wasn't living up to your expectations. So I stopped trying to. I built my life anyway. And I've been happy. Happy lying to us? Amanda asked. I never lied. I just stopped correcting your assumptions. There's a difference. Not much of one. Derek muttered. I looked at him. My brother who'd just spent the entire lunch reminding everyone of his superiority. Who'd made partnership and immediately used it as an excuse to put me down. You know what the sad thing is? I said. I was genuinely happy for you when you made partner. I know how hard you worked for it. I know what it means to you. And I came here today to celebrate Mom's birthday and your achievement. But you couldn't do the same. You couldn't just enjoy your success. You had to use it as an opportunity to mock mine. I didn't know you had success to mock. Exactly. You didn't know. You didn't ask. You just assumed. And that says everything about the last 8 years of our relationship. I walked toward the door. Monica stood up. Nat, wait. Can I talk to you? Outside. I hesitated, then nodded. We stepped into the restaurant's lobby, away from the stunned silence of the dining room. Are you okay? Monica asked. Honestly, I don't know. That was intense. That was 8 years of frustration coming out at once. I had no idea, she said, about any of it. About how successful you were or how much they'd been putting you down. Everyone participates in their own way. You never actively mocked me like Derek did. But you never asked questions either. You just went along with the family narrative that I was the struggling one. You're right. She sat down on one of the lobby benches. I'm sorry, Nat. I should have been a better sister. Thank you for saying that. Can I ask you something? She looked up at me. Why that phone call? Why answer it on speaker? That seemed deliberate. I thought about it. Maybe it was. Maybe after 8 years of biting my tongue I wanted them to hear it. Not from me trying to convince them, but from an external source they couldn't dismiss or question. Mission accomplished. They definitely heard it. Yeah. I sat down beside her. I didn't plan it that way. But I can't say I'm sorry it happened. What happens now? I don't know. I guess we see if they can accept who I actually am instead of who they imagine me to be. And if they can't, then at least I'll know where I stand. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Monica asked, is it true? The $3.9 billion. It's true. Holy shit, Nat. Yeah. What do you even do with that much money? Invest it mostly. Grow it. I run a private equity firm. We acquire companies, restructure them, make them profitable, then either hold them or sell them. It's not glamorous. It's a lot of spreadsheets and board meetings and due diligence. Sounds boring. It is. But I love it. Why the tiny apartment and old car then? If you have billions, why not? I don't know, live like it. Bez, I don't need to. The apartment suits me. The car works fine. I'd rather invest money than spend it on things that don't matter. You're weird, you know that? I've been told. Monica laughed. Then she hugged me. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry I didn't say that before. Thanks, Monica. We went back inside. The dining room was in chaos. Everyone talking at once, phones out, presumably Googling my name and finding articles about my firm. Derek saw me and stood up. Natalie, can we talk? Privately. I followed him to a quiet corner. I'm sorry, he said immediately. For what I said. For all of it. I was a complete ass. Yes, you were. I didn't know. Derek, stop saying you didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't want to know. You were comfortable with the narrative that you were the successful one and I was the struggling one. It made you feel good about yourself. He flinched but didn't argue. You're right. I liked feeling superior. I liked being the one mom and dad bragged about. And when you left Morgan Stanley, I thought you were making a huge mistake and it made me feel smart for playing it safe. At least you're being honest now. Can I ask you something? Why didn't you throw it in my face? Any of the times I was being condescending, why didn't you just tell me? Because I wanted you to see me for who I was, not what I was worth. I wanted family relationships that weren't defined by money or status or success. But you all made that impossible. We did, he agreed quietly. And I'm sorry for my part in that. Apology noted. Can we fix this? Can we start over? I don't know, Derek. That's going to depend on whether you can actually change. Whether you can see me as an equal instead of as the little sister who needs your guidance and pity. I can try. Then try. But Derek, the next time you want to announce someone's financial situation at a family event, maybe ask them first. He winced. Yeah. That was really bad. It really was. We returned to the table. Mom was crying, whether from shock or hurt or confusion I couldn't tell. Dad looked lost. My aunts and uncles were whispering among themselves. I think I'm going to go, I said to the room. Let you all process this. Natalie, please, Mom said. Stay. We should talk about this. We should. But not today. Today was supposed to be about celebrating your birthday, and I've already made enough of a scene. You didn't make a scene, Monica said. Derek did. You just finally defended yourself. Either way, I think it's better if I leave. I kissed Mom on the cheek. Happy birthday. I'm sorry it ended this way. I'm sorry too, she whispered. For not seeing you. For not asking. For assuming. We'll talk soon, okay? She nodded, still crying. I left the garden room and walked to my car. My sensible, paid-off 7-year-old Honda that had apparently been a source of family concern for years. I sat in the driver's seat and took a deep breath. My phone buzzed. A text from James. Ms. Williams, I apologize if my call came at an inopportune time. Should we schedule a proper meeting to discuss Q4 performance? I texted back. No apology necessary. The timing was actually perfect. Let's meet Tuesday. Another text, this time from Monica. I love you. Proud of you. Sorry for being a shitty sister. I smiled and typed, love you too. Not a shitty sister. Just a sister who didn't know the whole story. Over the next week, the calls and texts poured in. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to reconnect. Derek called twice a day. Mom left long voicemails. Dad sent emails. I responded to some. Ignored others. I was done being available to people who only valued me once they knew my net worth. But I did have lunch with Monica. And I did eventually have dinner with my parents. And after 2 weeks of processing, I met Derek for coffee. I've been reading about your company, he said. You're actually kind of a big deal. I'm successful. There's a difference. You've acquired 17 companies in 8 years. Your fund has a 34% annual return. Forbes called you one of the most successful young investors in the country. You Googled me. Extensively. He smiled sheepishly. I should have done that years ago. Should have asked questions, shown interest. Instead, I just assumed and judged. Yes, you did. I'm trying to do better. We all are. Mom started asking actual questions about your business. Dad wants to understand what you do. Monica's been defending you to anyone who'll listen. That's nice. Is it enough? Can we fix this? I looked at my brother, still in his expensive suit, still wearing his Rolex, but looking less certain than I'd ever seen him. I think we can try, I said. But Derek? This isn't about the money. It was never about the money. It was about respect. About being seen. About having my choices valued even when they didn't make sense to you. I get that now. I really do. Good. Because I'm still going to drive this car and live in my apartment and dress simply. And I need you to be okay with that. To respect those choices without assuming they mean I'm struggling. I can do that. Then maybe we can start rebuilding. It wasn't perfect. Relationships damaged over 8 years don't heal overnight. But slowly, grudgingly, my family started to see me. The real me. Not the struggling freelancer they'd imagined, but not just the billionaire from the phone call either. Just Natalie. Who happened to be both. And honestly, that was enough. Maybe.